everyone, this is Scarlett Yi. Welcome to the first lesson of the 5G Business Open Class, exploring new business models in the 5G era. 5G monetization is the top one topic of concern to all the operators, and package design and pricing are one of the most important factors. So in today's first lecture, we invited Nicole McCormick from Omdia to share the 5G pricing and strategies. Okay, so hello, Nicole.
Thank you.
Warmly welcome. Do you please say hello to everyone and give us a short introduction about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nicole. I reside with Omdia, one of the largest research houses in telecoms and other spaces. My role there is in the consumer team, where I head up 5G strategy, monetization. In short, we want to know how we can get that little bit more from the consumer from 5G.
Okay, thank you. So today we raised a lot of questions from the global operators. So first question is, compared with the 4G pricing, what is the 5G consumer pricing proposition?
Okay, so underpinning 5G pricing is upsell. That is the root and the goal of what the operators are trying to achieve. So the basic premise is you want that consumer to pay more. So you need to offer something more. So in the 5G world, that can be a lot more data because the networks are so full of their capacity. It could be a faster speed. It could be lower latency. And these are the kind of new ways that we can monetize that consumer a little bit better than what we could do for 4G.
Okay, so here's the second question. The 5G network capabilities make the possibility of multi-dimensional pricing. So what are the pricing models for 5G? Then the 5G can take advantage of the...
So Omdia has identified a handful of pricing models. You can see these on screen. You will see that some arrows are going down. So that's where a pricing model has diminished over time. So less operators, for example, have a do-nothing strategy. And this is where they came to market with no new 5G plans. They merely opened up their existing tariffs to consumers. So we're glad to note that there's less of those operators over the past year. So where have they gone? They have jumped into these other buckets that you see. The next bucket is a data tier strategy. So this is part of that example I was saying where the upsell is much larger data in the plans. Where to jump on, you need to pay extra than what you did before. So this operator does not offer what we call 5G rich services, such as your cloud games and your AR. They are part of the next bucket, which is differentiate. That is a 5G rich app bundler. And a lot of these operators have data tier as an upsell, they might have speed as an upsell, but a key facet in their delivery is these 5G rich services. And then we have speed tiers. Most people are familiar with this. We all have this in the fixed broadband world where you pay more for a faster speed.
So you just mentioned about the pricing evolution. So could you please share with us whether there are some regions or some operators they are already doing this?
Yeah. Well, if we looked at that chart a couple of years ago, we would see a lot more do-nothing operators. And that means that maybe there was some competitive pressure to quickly come to market, get that service out. Maybe the network was only in a handful of hotspots. So that's not really a precursor to tariff innovation. You need the devices to come, you need the rollout of the network to expand, and then we see operators start to move up that tier towards speed tiers, maybe even to a differentiate strategy. In fact, differentiate is nearly the top strategy today. So that is good news that the operators are able to convince consumers, one, to get on the network, sample the network, use the network, and if they like, buy something more, whatever that may be.
Yeah, could you please give us some specific cases, like from where and which operator they have such kind of plans?
Right, so The classic case study would be somewhere like Korea. Each operator there has oodles of services and apps in the market. They have premium unlimited plans, and they reserve the most premium 5G rich apps for those paying the most expensive plan. So that therein lies a bundling strategy of upsell to convince consumers if they want more in terms of apps that they need to spend that few dollars more.
Yeah, you just mentioned the Korea operators, they have the bundling package, also including the application, right?
Yes.
The rich application. So here's the question. So how to define the 5G application? Which application belongs to the 4G? Which belongs to the 5G? Is there any definition about that one?
Yeah, no, good question. So all of these apps that I'm putting in the category of 5G rich, you can do those on 4G. The difference is that the experience is not as rich, it's not as enhanced, that because we're taking advantage now of that much faster speed and also that lower latency. So you could do cloud games on 4G, but the performance is better on 5G.
You mean the performance, you mean the experience, right?
The experience for the consumer, correct. So we've got our cloud games. We would have new media, such as the emergence of 4K video streaming. We'd also have AR and VR in that category as well.
Yeah, so considering the 4K or even 2K, so is that suitable for the smartphone? Because the smartphone, maybe some consumers, they think maybe only 1080p is already enough, or even 720p is already enough.
The thing is, when we look at consumers, we always have that first adopter category, and the first adopters are interested in having 4K, even though the actual experience, as you correctly note, can be marginal.
And I have a same feeling. If you get used to the 4K or 2K, you will never get back to the 1080p or even 720p.
Correct, especially if you're watching things like sport, for
Yeah,
example,
exactly.
that fits perfectly into that niche category.
Yeah, 5G telcos adopted the 5G rated based charging. So speed, you just also mentioned a little bit. Speed tiers are gaining traction. So could you please share with us where and why?
Okay, so we had speed tiers in the realm of 4G. But of course, they now reach peak speeds of up to 2 gigabits per second in 5G. And the origin of that 4G speed tiering was largely Europe. So we had operators like in Finland with Eliza, they were traditional speed tierers. And with 5G, they have rolled that proposition over. And of course, the proposition is now much faster speeds. But the rest of the world, a couple of years later, have also started to look at speed tiers as a new lever for upsell. So here I'm thinking when the Chinese operators came to market, for the very first time in a mobile environment, they launched speed tiers alongside bigger data plans. So sort of like a double upsell lever, if you will. So China Mobile, for example, comes to mind. But now we have a situation where 25% of our 5G commercial operators all have some flavour of speed tiering. So we can throw Australia and Telstra into there, and the Canadian operators, as well as other operators as well. But what we have found is challenging is that only 11% of those 25% are what we call those 5G rich bundlers. So I think in a speed tier environment, if you want to showcase what the network can do, then one of the upsell proposition is to layer in 5G rich apps so you can demonstrate to the consumer the difference between a low speed and a higher speed.
Because the speed tiering, I also introduced this one to some of the operators, but they have some concern about like this. Because the speed tiering is the maximum speed, right? You can get maximum 2 giga or 1 giga, but that is not the minimum speed.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the problem, because if I am the consumer, I can say I need at least 1 giga. So how the operators can do for the guaranteed experience like that?
I think it's a good idea to have clear, transparent, upfront marketing around speed, as you say. So I do like words like peak speed, up to, and then a follow-on sentence to say what this means on average, in reality, and then even go one step further, showing that, you know, to download a movie and give a visual on your website, which operators do, that can clearly demonstrate to the consumers what they're actually going to pay that little bit more for.
Good idea. And we also found out that you just visit China, huh? So you see there the live broadcasting is really, really popular. So we do see there are some services like the live broadcasting that need the uplink, low latency, also guaranteed bandwidth for the uplink. So how do you think the such kind of services they need differentiated experience, whether the operators they can monetize by this way?
Yeah, okay. So one example that I've come across since being here is in Guangdong province with China Unicom. And they have actually spun off some new plans. These are fully dedicated plans with voice and data. And the new thing is that the consumer gets to choose what latency they want. 100 megabits per second or 200 megabits per second. So these type of plans are targeting those, what we call the user-generated content users who are looking to upstream 4K video for various applications. So this is a new layer of speed that's just emerged in the market. And the interesting thing about this package is it's been very popular. About 200,000 consumers already after just 1 year. And there is also another element which is new to this discussion, and that is that there's a VIP access priority. So that uplinking is given some priority on the network, and therein the customer can be assured that those videos will go faster and thus chew less data. Hong Kong is also adopting a very similar model. The operator I have in mind here is 3 Hong Kong. They have some plans in the market too. These are bolt-on plans to your base 5G plan. And what that does there is it guarantees some dedicated data for the uplinkage of that live 4K video streaming. They have 2 flavours of these plans, one targeting the average consumer and another one for professionals, so a double approach there. There is also some prioritisation which can be in turn layered on top of that plan as well. But Hong Kong is also an interesting market where there's some prioritisation also around downlink. So one new niche that's being targeted is the fintech community, again by 3 Hong Kong. And in this time, the carrot, the offer, the new thing is up to 2 times faster speed, so that you can get that priority information in technically faster than what the average consumer is getting.
Yeah. We see that the live broadcasting is really, really popular, even in Hong Kong or in mainland. So how about in other countries like the Asia Pacific or other Western Europe?
Yes. Well, we've done a global survey and we asked consumers to rank what they would be willing to pay more for. And certainly paying for faster, better, guaranteed uplink to get a better video experience is coming in quite high. So as a global thing, there's a propensity for that. But the thing is, when we start using words like prioritisation on the network, it does bring into the equation net neutrality.
Okay, besides that, we just talk about a lot of new business models. So, are there any other emerging models that we didn't mention?
Yeah, well, I think it's worth talking about AR. This is a sophisticated way of targeting consumers, and I'm thinking things like 3D AR shopping, 3D AR kids ebooks. And when you start branching AR out into shopping and to retail and that real-time experience becomes very important. And the monetization in these cases, in the retail space for operators, is indirect monetization. And by that I mean that your merchant partners, on a sale, you need to share some commission on that sale with the telco. Hence, I started the conversation with more sophisticated models being wrapped around some of the AR experiences.
But they need the glasses, right? The
No.
AR glasses or also the smartphone too.
No, these are glasses-free applications. Yeah, they literally, on your phone, the book appears out, you can spin it, there's words as well, it's an eye contact, yes.
That's great. Any other applications or services?
Well, I would say that the monetization opportunities have become now multiple. So we just don't have that bundling, saving the best or the most to those paying the most. To those paying the most, we have these indirect monetization forms as well. We have voucher systems in some markets where instead of paying $10 for your app, you log on to the operator's website, you can just pay $5. We have a lot of teaser apps in the market which are free. At the same time though, for those premium value apps, in some cases they're not part of the bundle. We have an operator going direct to consumer to try and get a subscription fee out of them. And you'll find as you look at operators that have been in this space for a while, they have multiple strategies at play but that wasn't the case in the beginning. We just might have had some free teaser apps, but that's part of our evolution story. The monetization has also got more sophisticated.
Finally, what key messages would you like to deliver to telcos about this lecture?
Okay, I would say we're 4 years in to the 5G consumer monetization story. So there's a lot of best practice out there. Don't think that you need to reinvent the wheel. You don't. You can. There's lots of learnings out there. I think one of the key learnings is that maybe what works in Korea is not going to work in Hong Kong. It might not work in Australia. So localize your content for your local audience. So localization is still king. And I think yes, I think that the 5G value chain is challenging for some operators, and you need to fully understand that and know where you play in that space. There are layers within that, and you need to know what tier that you as an operator want to play in.
I still remember during the mobile broadband forum last year, one of my customers told me, Scarlett, maybe we cannot wait for the 5G application. Maybe there's no killer application. At least we can do something today. Yes. So don't wait.
Yes.
Right.
And one of the things flowing into that, we've been talking about incremental revenue opportunities too. But you're right, there is a cost savings element to this monetization story as well, and that it is much cheaper to carry that traffic on a 5G network than a 4G network. In fact, that was one of the main rationales that a lot of operators in the very beginning actually went and launched 5G to save some costs.
Great. Thank you, Nico. Thanks for your time. A lot of input and very helpful.
Good, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much, Scarlett.